guys.
How's it going? How's it going?
How we doing?
It's Romeo Day, guys.
Doing all right.
We're doing
what,
good.
What does that mean, Aki, if it's Romeo Day?
It's the highlight of our life.
Oh, shit.
Beat that. Beat that.
Oh, God.
Aki, Diane, they want to have a conversation with you following this episode.
This is pure Jameson's for...
It wouldn't be the first conversation we have to have after a Romeo podcast.
It's a little sad, a little sad.
Oh, listen to this guy.
Come on.
Selling a short.
Well, listen,
No, I'm not.
listen. I'm gonna piggyback on his comment. It's great to get together with you guys
It's
once
great
again.
to be with you
Exactly.
guys.
It's also great to welcome back our viewers and listeners.
Welcome back.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Like and subscribe, please. Nice people.
Send suggestions, comments.
Wow,
Dumbasses.
Noran, you've been listening to some of the feedback.
Bunch of dumbasses.
Okay, no, clearly you haven't. All right, why don't we just jump into it, guys? And one of the suggestions I had for today was whether or not you guys would be keen on discussing whether Tesla has lost some of its luster.
Oh,
Big time.
Especially these days, yeah.
Mr. Elon.
Elonia.
Okay, first of all, you guys are stock market pros. So Tesla's share. I mean, if we look at just business metrics, are we really seeing this? Are we really seeing like
Well, I think you can take this
the
from-
brand taking a beating?
You can take it from a number of different perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're
So
raising the brand.
I'm raising the business side of it. So Tesla shares right now.
I think they've been down consistently over the past several weeks.
Okay, but let's be
So-
honest. Is it because of his new political notoriety, or is it because that was their trend line as a company?
Well, one you can't separate one from the other. He is the company, and what happens to Elon happens to his companies.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, he was touted as the savior of the planet, and now he's a right-wing Nazi saluter. So at a certain point, people are saying, "Well, okay, we don't like his politics. We used to like his cars. We used to like his companies, but there's been a backlash, and of course, that's going to affect the company and the stock price. So they're both hand in hand."
Okay, so if he hadn't made this move, and it was just
Which move?
become like Trump's right hand man and the DOGE
Boss, you mean?
If he stayed
Trump's
right,
boss.
right. We can. There's other descriptions too that we can use, but
Okay.
we'll save that for later. So if he had not made this move into the political turmoil, and just stayed, being the businessman, just as businessman, as Elon Musk, CEO of all these great companies, supposedly,
Yeah.
would his stock have plummeted?
No, I don't think so. I think this is a direct result of what he's done and what he's doing within the U.S. And I think the global backlash to the U.S. policies and the tariffs are what we're seeing. At this point, you can't separate Trump from Musk. They're inseparable at this point, as we can see. One's policy is the other's policy. It's like they're speaking from the same mouth almost. Someone's got their hand up the other guy's ass and is making him talk. I don't know which one's which, but
That was a great podcast. We discussed that.
yeah, we exactly. So we don't know, who's zooming who, as it were, if I go back a ways. But for sure, because they're so intertwined, anyone who hates what's going on in America, anyone who hates the tariff policy, the foreign policy that they're showing against Ukraine, for example, against NATO, against all of these things, any grievance you have against America right now, it's super easy to say, well, that's a Tesla grievance because they're so intertwined, and that's, I think, the problem.
What about the board?
I don't totally. I mean,
You don't
yeah,
think that?
no, not 100% because investors don't look at just that. I think what happened with the Cybertruck, the bad publicity, and it's a bad product, that didn't help. And even there's a lot of competition now for electric cars. They're not alone. So
Well,
I think what you're saying is true, Dominic. I don't think that's the reason why Tesla has lost its luster.
I think Elon Musk.
I think people are fanatical. And Nuran just described a swinging of the pendulum that I think was way too far left-leaning, right? Where all the people who think that EVs are going to save the planet, and it's a ludicrous idea.
It is.
And now those same people are so anti anything to do with Elon Musk. And I'm not saying that it's not some of it isn't justified. But what I find striking is the degree to which people's emotions
Yeah.
Good point.
will travel so far so quickly.
You're right.
Yeah.
People who know cars much better than I do would tell you today, as they have for years, that Tesla vehicles have never been high quality vehicles. Never.
Yeah, it's true.
And objectively, if you look at the number of recalls that Tesla vehicles have been subjected to, it far exceeds industry norms.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in a Tesla, you look at the finishing, it's hard to understand how they can justify the price point of those
It's a
vehicles.
cheap Chevrolet inside.
Right? But people who are all about EVs and Tesla, they swear by them.
They did. They used to.
Well, the same people that you couldn't pry a Tesla away from are now selling them
Yeah. And vandalizing them.
because or vandalizing dealerships,
Yeah.
whatever actions they're taking,
Superchargers, yeah.
because they're letting their emotions get the better of them.
Yeah. Very good point.
So I agree with everything you said, but one point that I'll piggyback on Dominic's is that I do feel that their products were losing their luster anyway, because from a refresh perspective, I mean, the Model S, the Model 3, the Model Y and X, they haven't really changed in the past, 10 years? It's the same looking car. So there needs to be a model refresh at some point. I think the models themselves have become long in the tooth to begin with. Forget the Cybertruck for a second, because that one was, kind of didn't work very well at all.
No.
But even the regular other models that they had are definitely, need a refresh. So I think from a stock perspective, if I pull back, I would have thought that in any case there would have needed to be a refresh or another leg up somehow with a new model or something that could have come to market, like a Model 1 or something or similar. I think they've been talking about that. So I think that, on top of the fact that Elon switched sides, as it were, from a left-leaning, kind of consumer background who would have bought his cars, I think those two together have made it like a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I don't think, frankly, I don't disagree with your comments about refresh. We can have this conversation about General Motors, Ford, Toyota, any car manufacturer, and also suggest that if they don't refresh their vehicles frequently enough, that it's likely to impact their sales.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
not the primary.
I don't think
reason.
that's the issue,
No.
or even close to being one of the top issues that has caused Tesla to lose its appeal, if you will, in the public eye or in the investor's eye.
I would have thought that if nothing happened with Elon, if all of this Elon shit with Trump had not happened, I would have thought that the stock as well, just without any other sales metrics or anything to go by, just because of the refresh cycle required for their products, it was kind of just becoming ordinary, as opposed to, hey, let's all get a Tesla.
Again, I'm gonna disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I think that as more and more of the traditional car manufacturers have backed off some of their EV initiatives or autonomous driving initiatives, Tesla has doubled down.
Well, that's the only thing they have.
And for that reason, nobody else was talking about robotaxis. Look at GM.
Yeah,
right?
but they're way behind on robotaxis. Waymo's got like Waymo.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because people don't pay attention to the facts. I'm not disagreeing with you. Waymo is in the lead.
Yeah.
All I'm suggesting is, as others, and I'm talking about the traditional car manufacturers, have backed off some of their initiatives.
True, absolutely, yeah.
He's doubled down. Wow. And he has a history of making claims, if not to say promises, that don't come true, at least not in the timeline he initially suggests.
Definitely.
He overpromises and underdelivers.
Constantly.
But it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you're an Elon fanatic. It's just that the base has shifted.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. It's kind of interesting, though. There's a bit of irony there when you've got the MAGA hats and MAGA,
lunatics.
Well, lunatics. Sorry, no, I'm not.
No,
I'm not going to
lunatics.
repeat that. The MAGA faithful.
Lunatics.
Hang on. The MAGA faithful would have set fire to Teslas 6 months ago or a year ago, and now Trump is telling them, "Hey, no, this is the car you need to buy."
Yeah.
The guys
The
that used to
garage
do-
sale in front of the White House.
Yeah, what they used to call it, coal rolling or whatever, where they get the diesels and get all the black fumes in your face because they take all the catalysts out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Coal rolling, I think they used to call it. Anyway, so these are the type of guys that would do that to Teslas all the time, and they'd record them and put them on YouTube. And now these guys are supposed to be the guys that are buying Teslas because Trump is telling them to. I wonder how that's going on in their heads. Like,
Well, I don't know that too many people have actually taken action on that, because evidently their sales are dropping very, very quickly.
exactly, but just imagine. I'm just trying to put myself into a MAGA, a MAGA guy, a guy that loves Trump. Hey, he's for us. He's our savior. He's doing all the right things.
Careful, Aki's going to leap across the table and kiss you.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So a guy that's like, yeah, tariffs. We're going to make everyone pay the tariffs. They don't understand what a tariff is. Like everyone blindly.
He doesn't understand what a tariff is.
He whether he does or not, he's doing it, and he's doing it for other reasons, for
Yeah.
manufacturing, onshoring, and all this other stuff. Let's talk about that another time. But a MAGA guy that doesn't have the capacity to really understand economics, he's a mechanic, whatever, hardworking stiff, loves Trump because he's a straight shooter.
Yep.
Now he's being told he's got to buy a Cybertruck or an electric car from Elon Musk, the world's richest guy. Like, how do they reconcile that?
It's
in
the
their brains?
cult because it's the Kool-Aid. It comes from the boss, from the God.
No, but okay, let's step back from the hyperbole.
No, but that's what it is.
So
like
how-
everything else.
No, so listen. First of all,
How do you reconcile?
most
this
people
stuff, though?
today are in a financial situation. I'm not talking about the elite. Most people today are in a financial situation where they're unlikely to go out and purchase a brand new automobile, let alone a Tesla,
Yeah.
which sells at a premium.
Exactly. Okay, fair enough.
Many governments around the world
They used to subsidize.
many governments around the world have actually found themselves in a situation where they can no longer offer the same kind of incentives or subsidies as they were offering for the purchase of EVs. And those that still do are now beginning to target Tesla specifically. In other words,
like
they will
PC.
not offer those incentives or subsidies
Correct.
for Tesla branded products.
Yeah.
So you're seeing governments around the world
Yeah.
retaliating
Yeah, politically.
because they don't agree with an individual as influential, not to say powerful, as Elon Musk, trying to influence the outcome of elections, what should be free and open elections in various European countries. So we're seeing backlash in places like Germany. We're seeing backlash in places like France, like Canada, to name a few countries.
Well, we have no elections here.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I'm just wondering how these people reconcile all of these things.
They don't.
And
Why do you think that people reconcile all these things? Most individuals have the capacity to focus on 1, 2, maximum 3 issues.
Yeah.
The maximum. We see this all the time.
well, it's
But I'm not
that's-
sure.
that's sad.
But I'm not sure.
It is what it is.
Maybe look. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they're actually buying into
Very
this. I mean, the
generous.
people that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know that hey, all of a sudden, Elon is great and is
we used
Tesla
to set
is
fires to
great.
Teslas. Now we need to buy them.
I'm not sure. Is that really? I mean. Because if that were the case, then you'd see some sort of wave of people flocking to
well, they're
buy.
not for the reasons that Pat said.
Well, no, you're right. They probably
They can't afford it.
They can't afford it. They can't afford it. But okay, so
But it's just a mind fuck that's going
yeah,
on.
but I don't see these Trumpers, the grassroots, the base, now echoing, the great leaders' love of Tesla and saying good things about Tesla and the base actually speaking up and
let's
to
see.
defend Tesla. I'm not seeing that.
Early
You guys?
days. Early days.
Let's see what happens because he's touting these products on the White House lawn.
And guys, it doesn't have to be the base. Right? Because the rhetoric you're hearing may help justify decisions that will be taken by this administration. I'll give one example: to purchase armored vehicles from Tesla. So to compensate for the loss of consumer business, we're actually going to give you a mandate to build for the U.S. military
Yeah, armored vehicles.
armored vehicles.
Light armored vehicles.
Period.
Yeah.
You've just
Yeah.
compensated for the hundreds of millions or billions in lost consumer sales.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not difficult to do.
Okay, but we've
Unfortunately, you're 100%, and that's sad.
Yeah, but
I mean,
Pat-
that is really sad.
Yeah, but I can't see. I mean, the Pentagon. Come on, guys. I mean, we know about the quality issues with Teslas. I mean, the generals and the decision makers in the Pentagon.
Are you for
gonna,
1 second refuting what he just said as a
I'm
possibility?
I'm just suggesting the Pentagon. You know, how will this go over
runs
with
the
with the
Pentagon?
generals? But the people, I don't
You're
know.
saying
but still.
the same people who once ordered Black Hawk helicopters, or who order products from Boeing, or
yeah, there's your run of the mill.
Come on.
Pronounced Boeing?
Right. There's your run of the mill military procurement stupidities. There's that run of the mill. But this is a whole other level. I mean, this is like a product.
It doesn't matter.
A company, their product is clearly, we recognize that it has a lot of faults.
who's we?
The market. I mean, you guys. I mean, us.
So Aki, again, I don't want to accuse you of being naive every week, every time we get together. But the bottom line
Don't hold
is,
back.
I won't. Are you questioning?
back.
Are you questioning that if Donald Trump issues an order to the
No,
Pentagon?
I'm not. You're right. I'm not. I'm not
Okay,
questioning.
so end of conversation.
I'm not questioning. So that's all he's
Quality
saying.
doesn't enter into the conversation.
So then, I mean, this is just another example, of the level of decline that we're going to see, in the States, and how that can jeopardize our, world peace and security. If even the Pentagon then is going to be buying into this shit, and then just to please the boss, they're going to make these bad decisions,
Of course.
and they're going to load
Okay, guys,
up on bad equipment.
let's not get off track.
know.
Let's not get off track because the boss, which boss?
The great leader,
Well-
King Orange.
I want to know.
No,
Nuran,
I want to talk about Team Elon.
Elonia.
Well,
But Nuran, are you shorting the stock?
Am I shorting the stock? No. I don't short any stock.
Okay.
I do not short anything.
That's a dangerous game.
Yeah, it's
we're
a
very
dangerous
influential.
game.
This is a very influential podcast.
Emphasis on game.
I used to write. Puts as well. Put contract. I stopped doing that as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
He learned a painful lesson.
Yeah.
I did.
We all do.
Unfortunately, yes.
So,
So clearly, we all agree on the loss of luster,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
and it's easy to get sidetracked in this conversation.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that for me, it's very representative, or it just unveils so much about human nature, and how easily people can be swayed in one direction or another.
Oh yeah.
Because and I think you touched on it earlier, Nuran. To me, it's mind-boggling that people who 6 to 8 months ago would have told you that Elon Musk is our planet's savior,
Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
are now of a mindset where they think that he's one of the great, if not the greatest destroyer
Yeah. Evil.
on the planet, Dr. Evil. A modern-day Dr. Evil.
again, that's the pendulum. He's nowhere close to that.
Well, in either direction.
Yeah, I agree.
He was never the savior. He was never the wonderful human being people portrayed him.
Oh, he did save 2 astronauts on the weekend.
Wow.
Well, he's got some positives. Look,
Well, I think virtually every human being has some positive and not. All I'm suggesting is
Yeah.
we should have a much more measured or balanced view of people,
I agree.
as opposed to trying to depict him as something that no single human being can
Guys,
possibly be.
let me postulate. Let me throw out something, and you guys tell me if it resonates or not. Okay. So assume for 1 second that this man is truly brilliant, like truly, truly brilliant. Assume that. Okay. So assumption is he's a genius. He's like off the
You're
charts.
talking strictly IQ at this point.
IQ. Elon Musk IQ. He has resources like the most resources of any human on the planet available to him.
Yeah.
He wants to enact change, and he sees a path where there's an individual who's about to run the largest government, most strongest whatever the economy, all of this thing, and he sees an opportunity to have a symbiotic relationship with this individual, provide a lot of money into his campaign, and become a kingpin, as it were, in the organization or in the cabinet, or he's not in the cabinet, but in that organization, as it were, and enact the changes that he wants to enact. So as someone who has resources, who wants to enact change on the planet, sees an opening to go in and become the person that enables and runs policy for the president of the United States, do you blame him for what he did? I think he's a
blame
fucking
him.
genius.
No.
I think what he's done is pure genius because he doesn't give a shit about about what's happening to Tesla's stock price. He's got other companies.
I agree.
Right.
with you. That's a very good
You're
point.
right.
That's a
This
very
has
good point.
happened forever, except he's done it. He's doing it visibly. He's doing it
In your face.
In your face.
In your face.
Yes, billionaires have influenced presidents
Mm-hmm.
and prime ministers
Well, yeah.
since the dawn of time.
Look at Fox News and what's his name, Murdoch.
Yeah,
Rupert
exactly.
Murdoch.
So, like, except Elon Musk is doing it on the stage
He
in
is.
front of TV cameras.
But just think about it from
Oh, I think
internally
I think there's
from
a big
himself.
difference. I think there's a big difference because I'm listening to you, and the term influencer comes to mind. In other words, I think it is true to say and fair to say that many people of great wealth have influenced elections, have influenced policy, have influenced decisions without necessarily taking an active role in the execution.
Yeah, he's doing it right now.
He's actually playing a vital role,
yeah,
right?
good
Not
point.
just enabling,
Yeah.
Yeah, and in his mind,
but executing.
in his mind, and we talked about government inefficiency. We all agree that there's government inefficiency. What he's in theory trying to do, again, let's look at the theory of it. Let's not look at the execution and the heavy-handedness and the rhetoric that we're seeing from all sides and stuff. But he's looking at the Department of Government efficiency. He's trying to make a huge government of over 2 million people in the federal government. He's trying to make it more efficient. Now we can argue, and I can argue. I think we all can argue he's doing a shitty job of in the way that he's doing it. But again, if you're a genius, if your mentality is there's waste, because if this was my company, I would run it differently. And we've all made that argument at this table when we talked about government efficiency as one of our first, if not first, podcasts. Second podcast. There we go. Bad memory. So we all agree that it's important to do. He's gone out and he's actually trying to do it.
But he's doing it. But he does not know what he's doing.
But let's separate the execution from the desire.
So that I agree with.
That I agree.
The other thing is
the execution is a disaster.
no, you can't say that.
No.
It is a disaster.
No, it's not.
We
you
have
don't-
references. We've seen government reform.
No, you haven't seen.
Yes, we have.
You have a small amount of information being made available to you through media who are sensationalizing everything.
Exactly.
No.
So
Let's wait for the results in 3 years or in a
don't
year.
know.
Or
You
whatever.
may not agree with the methodology.
You guys.
None of us have insights that allow us to assess how good or bad a job they are currently
So
doing.
you're well, no, but hold it. I just want to be clear about this. I think what you're saying is that the idea and the theory is absolutely it's what's required, but the execution we're saying is completely off the rails.
So I'm saying a larger thing. I'm saying that I'm not blaming Elon Musk, the human being who's a genius, for figuring out how to do things that no one else has been able to do before.
Yes.
Because he saw the availability of having this, again, symbiotic
In
relationship
the tech world.
with Trump. Forget tech, forget anything else.
Well-
He's found a way to become influential and do shit. Now he's doing shit. The stuff that he's doing, the reason why he's doing it is not a bad reason. Let's separate again.
We agree.
We don't know.
Well, government efficiency is a right thing to go for.
It is.
Yes, if this is truly about government efficiency. We don't know.
Okay, so
You don't know the full story.
I don't. You're right, and there are
And neither
underlying.
do I,
So
and
Pat, what's
neither
your-
do I. And I would tell you, neither does the media, and
Okay.
neither does the
So
population
what is your
at large.
theory?
There's other theories about how he's trying to undermine
I don't know.
democracy.
Listen,
and there's all sorts of theories.
what is your theory?
You know me well enough by now that I am.
We need facts.
I am not a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, but you just started talking.
No.
But-
what I'm saying is we don't have all the information.
We don't.
have all the data. We don't have all the facts.
We may never have all the facts.
We don't know.
Okay, so what data don't we have, Pat? What's your concern
About his
data?
underlying desires. About
I am not someone who looks at the headline and believes that reveals the entire story.
Okay.
yeah.
So I know what the headline is. I know what DOGE stands for.
Right.
I know what they are publicly portraying. I don't know what
Okay.
the true and full intent of these initiatives are.
Okay. So for the by this
For instance,
Yeah.
In the same way as Trump wants Americans and the world to believe that he is ridding America of all the garbage that has infiltrated government, and he's going to reform the justice system and the Department of Justice and the Internal Revenue Service,
Department of
and
Education,
all these
and all this
freaking government departments and agencies. Okay? So the headline says there's a major cleanup underway and it's required. That I agree with.
Okay.
Do I believe for a moment that the actions he's taken are solely motivated by that desire to clean house?
No, we've had this conversation. It's a purge.
But why?
There are different ways.
He wants
to look at it.
loyalists. He wants
Exactly.
people who are going to act on his word.
Well, exactly.
No one who's going to define him. He doesn't want anyone in independent roles that can act at arm's length from the president.
And the only ones that are left
He
are
wants
the judiciary.
yes men.
He wants a tyranny.
Well, he wants.
He's a tyrant.
Listen, okay, let's stop with the hyperbole.
So look, I'm only using that as
But
an
that's
example.
the logical conclusion to
So
your line of thinking.
I'm simply pointing out that in the same way as Trump would have you believe that this is all for purpose of good outcomes, I would tell you it's for the purpose of self-serving outcomes.
Totally.
And I am not putting that past Elon Musk either.
Okay, so they're both okay.
Because Elon believes the world revolves around him.
I'm not,
To some extent it does.
I'm not convinced of that because I don't know how his brain works, right? So I wouldn't go to that level of description of the man because I don't know the man. Maybe in his heart of hearts he is trying to do what's good for the planet.
I can
knows?
see and understand why there are people based on what he says and does who perceive him to be an anti-Semite.
Okay.
I don't know what's in his heart and I don't know what's in his head, to your point. But I can understand how what he says and does leads people to believe or perceive that he's an anti-Semite and a racist and a misogynist. And I can understand that.
Yeah.
Unless you get in his head or heart, you don't know what he's thinking or feeling.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
All right, but what I see here's
But you can interpret the signs.
right. So
Fair enough.
Okay. Do you know what he and his team are doing with all the data they're collecting, much of it which would normally be protected under
exactly.
privacy rules?
exactly.
Do you know?
I do not know.
Exactly. Well,
Does anybody know?
No, but we cannot stand by. I mean, you should not be standing by and allowing this.
Well, you have no say. You're
No,
not an
I'm just
American.
saying.
You're not an American.
But we're seeing there's pushback now. There's pushback. I mean, even in the king's great cabinet, there's one or two voices that are speaking
So
out against them.
What's going to happen over time is we're going to get to a new normal, and again in 2 years or less than 2 years, there's going to be midterm elections, and the public is going to speak as to whether they like what's happening, and everything that's happening now, including the tariffs, the trade wars. All of this stuff is going to lead to, in my opinion, a huge amount of inflation or an uptick in inflation in the next 3 to 6 months if it continues. And there's going to be a huge backlash in 2 years when it comes time to elections. So they've got another year and a half on the clocks or so to get shit done. And I think that's why Trump is at a breakneck speed, trying to get everything done, declaring all sorts of emergency powers or emergencies so he can have emergency powers, like the deportation of the Venezuelans recently and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. So he's doing everything he possibly can to become a king, to basically not give a shit about Congress, both houses, House and Senate.
Well, essentially the Constitution.
And exactly.
Exactly.
So he's doing whatever he can to go around any kind of constitutional blocks that are against him by using his executive power to the
fullest extent possible,
and beyond. And when it goes beyond, the judges are ruling against him, and he's going nuts because judges are ruling against him, and he's posting all sorts of shit that's causing judges to get death threats and so on. Like, we got some really fucked up shit happening in the U.S. right now.
Very well said.
And people are not really fully understanding it. By the way, I blame the media because they're so fucking stupid in the way they portray things.
biased.
The bias, exactly. If the media would only step back and say, okay, well, we think Trump is trying to do this. This is a positive, but this is the way he's doing it, and just lay it out for people so that people can make up their minds, as opposed to throwing opinions out as fucking fact, which everyone seems to be doing these days.
Yeah, but I know.
I don't know. I don't know if they can recover from years now of being biased. Because it's so
ridiculous.
difficult to
But you guys
to
are talking-
project an image of objectivity.
But are you talking about
And truth.
Are you talking about the conventional media? Because the conventional media, I would argue, I mean, their influence is diminishing. Now you're looking at podcasters, you're looking at the whole world of social media.
Well,
that's where the influence.
That's
seems to
not
be.
media anymore.
I know,
That-
and that's
just-
where and that's
Well, mainstream.
But mainstream, I agree with you. Mainstream, I agree with what you're saying.
There's
but I-
nothing but the rest is opinions. Everything else is opinions.
Does the average person make the distinction between the two?
I think they do now.
No, they don't. That's the problem.
I'm with Nuren. They don't.
Don't?
That's the
Okay,
problem.
so how do you
So what you
explain-
do is you tune into the podcast that you agree with.
If you ask people today, if you were to take a
Right.
poll
It's
and
an
ask,
echo
and ask
chamber.
most people today, where do you get your news? What do they answer?
TikTok,
Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
What else?
Social
Instagram,
media. I would say social media.
podcasts.
Social media.
Yeah.
They would say social media.
But they listen to the podcast that they agree with. They don't listen to Rachel Maddow podcast when they're a MAGA hat or a MAGA.
Another episode we recorded and
But-
broadcast months ago.
yeah.
which was what.
Where do you get your news and how does it
Right,
impact you?
right. So guys, here's what's happening. The people,
memory.
Go watch it, Nuren. You'll enjoy it.
So
I don't listen to this shit.
You should.
On social media, I think that you're seeing a lot of the pushback against them is really in social media. There's almost like
Against who?
It's a groundswell.
Elon?
Elon.
Yes.
Really? No, it's
again left versus right.
You know what?
Yeah, it is.
You know what this tells us?
Yeah.
It tells us what social media
Yeah, your echo chamber.
and feeds Aki pays
Look,
attention to.
Never mind Aki. I mean, this is where if we're going to talk about influence, you can't seriously
Echo.
say you can't seriously say that it's still the conventional media that really are overwhelmingly influential in society. I don't think that's the case. I think that model has changed, and right now social media is just as influential as your conventional media. And a lot of people and most people are flocking to social media.
It depends on your age.
I'm just
group.
saying when you're on social media, right? I don't think that you and Dominic necessarily watch the same feeds.
And the algorithm that you get
I like to
is going to give you shit that you like.
Excuse me, but I'd like to go to the podcast of the opposite view. Absolutely, I like to hear what the other side is saying and what their analysis is. And some of it, look, if you're not an
Look
extremist,
at the polarization of society.
yes,
Look at the words you're using.
Yes.
Other side.
yes.
There are no sides. We're humans.
Oh my! You call me naive?
Yeah.
Please
We're all human
continue. We're all
beings.
human. Can we all please get along?
Exactly.
Can we
That's all.
just get along?
No.
It's
No,
This is
people-
what he's saying.
But it's
No,
so
people
easy.
can't get this idea that why can't we get along? Tell me when in history have people gotten along? When?
Listen, the problem is
Never.
rhetoric.
Okay,
But
thank you.
The problem, if you take any problem and you lay it out in factual terms, and you just lay it out for people, and you ask people, okay, so you want, whatever, gun issue, you want guns everywhere, but people are dying. What do you think is the right thing to do? When you ask people, do you think there should be background checks for people who are coming
Yes.
from mental asylums?
Yeah.
70% or more agree with that. But we have a system in place, or they have a system in place with the NRA and,
Right.
and the lobbyists, which stop them from enacting laws that most people want.
Right.
So again, the problem is the system. The problem isn't the people. People generally figure shit out. People have common sense. Common sense is common in
No.
a lot of people. If you
Not the majority of people.
but Pat, again, the example I gave is a true example. You say that the people are nuts in the States for their guns. However, people do want common sense.
I don't
legislation.
Yes.
say people are nuts.
Okay.
I say people have a belief system.
But when most people agree that there should be background checks, yet the politicians don't do it, you have to blame the system then, not the people, because the people have spoken. And the people do want certain changes.
You're right,
But the politicians are not enacting them.
If people wanted changes that badly,
What happened?
they would pay a lot closer attention to the people that
To the elections,
they
yes.
are electing
Well, the
to various roles.
the problem-
because they're representatives in the House,
Yeah, but they're
they're
sensational.
senators.
Okay, but then, so we talked about earlier, you said people have 1, 2, 3 things that they think about.
Exactly.
That's the problem. I got to pay my rent, my kids' schooling, I got to do this, I got to do
Right.
that. Oh, by
so
the way,
don't tell me it's the system. The system is a reflection of
the apathy
of
of the
the
people
1, 2, or
helps
3
the system.
issues
But the
that
apathy
people
of
will act on.
so the apathy of the people helps feed the system. I agree with that statement. But don't blame the people, blame the system. That's, in my mind, it ain't the people that are at fault. It's the system that's at fault. And the apathy of the people, yes, it feeds the system. It makes it. It continues it.
I'm going to disagree. I think that people get exactly in a free society where there's a democratic process that elects government. I get that. I would
Your
strongly
theory is
say
correct.
The people get exactly what they deserve.
I know, but that's in theory.
But there's some
People get
requirements.
exactly what they deserve.
So I think I think what we have to look at is you need to have a framework. So we used to have a framework where you had a media, for example, you had certain rules of the game and you had certain guardrails. So there was there was a media, conventional media, that more or less was responsible and was not biased. Now, I believe in that. I'm talking back, in the 60s and the 70s, we're talking about professional journalism.
You still have Reuters,
And you still have
Associated
Reuters,
Press, and so on. There are some
absolutely Wall Street Journal,
Al Jazeera.
So in order for the system to work, you need to have all these pieces. You need to have these pieces in place in society. You need to have a public forum that is not biased, that is professional. And you need to have, people that are really civically engaged. They understand what democracy is, and they have responsibilities.
Yes.
And they have responsibilities.
Yeah.
But the two need, in order for the system of democracy to work properly, you need to have the two together.
Yeah, you need to have informed, intelligent people.
Now what
We're fucking doomed.
Now that what you have is, first of all, you have no compromise anymore in government. It used to be a time, my God, Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, the Democrat Speaker of the House, had a great working relationship. The arch conservative and Tip O'Neill, arch Democrat. Government worked. You never had government shutdowns. Yeah. There was that was a system. So that was the example that people could look to and they can have confidence in, and then vote accordingly. So that's where the system works. Now all those pieces are long gone. So we have absolutely no more objectivity, professionalism, on the information sharing
They
side.
have been for a generation now.
Yeah,
They've been gone for a generation.
That's it. And we're not going to get that back anytime soon. So let's get back to Elon.
Yeah.
So
First of all, I agree. Look, he's a master chess player, more of a chess player than anybody else, maybe, and so that's something to take into account.
or he had an opportunity.
But
he saw an
I
opportunity
like your
and
analysis.
took it.
I like your. I agree with you. There was a great opportunity that opened up. And what's wrong with this? I mean, in his mind this is the guy, the master politician that always railed against EVs and the green economy.
Yeah.
And that happens to be my
and
playground.
windmills would give you cancer and everything else.
But that's my playground. So let me. Hey, I have an opportunity here. The guy's opening a door for me. So let me step in all the way, and keep this guy and bring him back down. Bring him away from that opposition and get him to be on my side. I think he's doing that.
So Trump is still drill baby drill. On
But
one
he's
hand,
also-
but now he wants to sell EVs.
He's doing Elon's bidding. In that sense, he's doing Elon's bidding. When he's a champion for Tesla, he's doing Elon's bidding, and that is a big success that I give Musk credit for.
Okay.
Well, he's made him a champion for Elon.
Yeah.
And
Elon-
let's not forget that while a large part of his portfolio, Tesla is only one of the extremely valuable businesses.
But isn't it the centerpiece of his?
No, think about
no
SpaceX.
longer.
fortune?
I don't think we can say that any longer.
Look at what SpaceX did with rescuing the astronauts that were left up there. Think about the amount of money that gets spent on the space programs and going to the moon, going to Mars, going to the space station. And he's basically cornered that market because he has the best technology and he's got reuse of the rockets and so on. He can land them back on the landing pad. It's like crazy.
Sometimes.
Most of
Yeah,
on
okay.
the water as well, like crazy shit.
So continue, on that path where you're very successful and you're making a difference. But there's some sort of there's an ego factor here.
Yeah. So
why you
do
say
you know
that?
what a megalomaniac is?
Well, exactly.
No, but guys,
exactly.
see, I don't agree with that.
I don't think Bill Gates is a megalomaniac. I don't know. There's a lot of other people that are at that level, but are not to that degree.
Guys,
you would say that Bill Gates is the same extent of megalomaniac as Elon Musk.
We haven't seen. So first of all,
Aki.
with all due respect to other brilliant people who've accomplished remarkable things, we have not seen the likes of Elon Musk probably ever.
Okay, can I ask you a question, guys?
Henry Ford?
No, hang on, guys.
No.
Guys,
Ford was one industry.
let me just ask all of you a question. If today some guy from the other side of the planet who knew everything about you from social media and from stuff that people said about you, how much do you think any of those people would really know what's in your mind and in your heart? Like, do you think anyone knows you, Aki, as who you really, really are, besides maybe your wife and your kids?
I don't know. I think with today's technology...
No. Answer the question honestly. Do you think that some guy from the other side of the planet who knows everything that you've written in your life's work...
Yeah, I think they can... I think
knows
they can,
exactly
they can
what's in your
deduce-
heart
They
and
can
mind.
deduce a lot. I think they can deduce a lot.
Yeah,
So I disagree.
I don't. So
I
I'm gonna-
disagree
I'm gonna-
100%.
I'm going to answer your question this way. I don't think the guy across the planet knows,
Yeah.
but the systems that you use on a day-to-day basis or throughout the day, every day of your life now, know you better than you probably know yourself.
Okay.
That's
That's not the question I'm asking.
No, but
What I'm
that
asking-
is the fact. And if the system knows, then I can gather data from the system that helps me get some remarkable insights into who you are.
Okay, so Pat,
Right? On a one-to-one basis.
you're not the algorithm for TikTok. Okay, what I'm saying is you're saying I know what's in Elon's
No,
head.
I
and in
know.
his
I
heart.
know this.
You don't know.
I'll tell you what I know. What I know
What's that?
is what I observe
Yes.
and what I hear.
Yeah, but you don't know the underlying reasons.
No,
for it.
No,
I
but
can
no,
deduce.
that is-
I can deduce.
You can try, but you may
Yes.
be wrong.
But no,
That's
no,
all I'm
Of course,
saying.
of course, you may be wrong.
So we're going down a path where we're trying to guess other people's motivations, and that's fucking impossible.
But that's it. But if you look at social media, look at the algorithms. What
But
are
it's
they based
fun.
on? That's exactly the function that
Yeah,
they
but you're not
perform.
the algorithm. You don't know what his
But do you-
algorithm
Okay, but Nuran,
is.
you agree though?
You're just guessing.
But you agree though that social media influences people and gets people to.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't know what's in that man's head.
So how do you
Naren,
succeed in getting
Naren,
them influencing them?
Naren, you're right. You can't be 100% certain.
all I'm saying.
But you can have an opinion.
Yes.
Or you can have an informed opinion.
Some people have neither.
I know.
All right. Look.
But all I'm saying is just be careful when you try and in your mind this person is that. I hate to do that because I hate
Well,
pigeonholing
I will
people.
say this.
I like
with-
to give
I will
people
say this with
opportunities.
confidence.
Okay. What's that?
Elon is not the savior
Mm-hmm.
and do-gooder that many people on the extreme left made him out to be.
And we're seeing that.
Well, we've been seeing that for some time. People are only reacting now. Okay?
I'd say wait 10 years and see what
I
happens.
think it's clear that he's a megalomaniac. He suffers from God complex, as many highly successul people do.
See, I wouldn't go that far ever.
Oh, I-
Don't.
I
I
wouldn't.
will. I will.
See, I can't
Right.
do that. My brain doesn't go there.
That's fine.
It just doesn't. Because for me,
What's
it's
what's the shtick? You know.
what do I think? I think we should wait 3, 4, 5 years.
What's with
and
the
see-
chainsaw show? That spectacle with the chainsaw.
Who cares? Like
You know?
but what does that? What? Okay, so that spectacle. What does that mean?
You
tell me what it means.
are the you're the ally of the closest ally of the president of the United States.
Okay, what
and
does that mean to you?
This is how you present yourself, and these are the kinds of statements that you put out there.
Who gives a fuck?
You got-
Of course you give a fuck because this is about building confidence. If you want people to support you, and if you want people to buy into what you're doing,
Aki.
that's very
Stop.
basic. It's basic leadership. It's 101 leadership
No,
101.
I will say this. I will say
The
this.
chainsaw was a
So,
gift.
so the one
okay,
thing,
that explains it. That excuses everything.
No, but this
the
is
one thing that's become fairly obvious
fucking rhetoric. It's
is
nothing.
that he's quite prepared to see Tesla lose its luster
Yeah.
and lose
He doesn't care.
market cap in the near to midterm
Yeah.
for the sake of
Control.
a higher priority issue
Yeah.
that we don't necessarily have insight into,
Bingo.
but that is driving his behavior currently.
Bingo. That's what I said in the
Okay.
beginning. Let's assume he
And,
knows
and
what
I'm
he's
not
doing.
assuming that it's for the greater good.
And that's fair. That's a fair
I'm
comment.
assuming
take-
that it is entirely for self-serving purposes.
But can we at least agree?
Okay.
Can we at least agree that he sees a path here to being the most powerful, non-elected person in the world?
He already was,
Yeah.
and that wasn't
even
sufficient.
without but now having the
He already-
government reign.
He already was.
He already was.
It's a question of degree. He
when you
already
have
was.
that much wealth equals power.
But nobody in that position was like in the inner sanctum of the Oval Office.
Okay, Aki, how many low orbit satellite systems are there in the world today?
Look,
I'm asking you a question. Please answer.
Is Iridium still there?
I don't know.
Is Iridium still there? Because there would have been two.
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. But I don't know. But I know where you're going with this. I'm not taking away anything from the guy's brilliance and achievement.
It's not talking about his brilliance. I'm telling you control.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a dominant low orbit satellite system deployed in the world today. Who owns it?
I guess Elon Musk.
What do satellites do?
Of course, yes. The communications and spying.
People who drive, what is the most popular EV outside of China today?
Tesla. But
Is it a car or is it a computer on wheels?
I don't understand why we're having this conversation.
It's constantly gathering data. No, because
You're saying that power. Okay, but all I'm saying, Pat,
data
is power.
Is the single most valuable asset in the world today and moving forward.
Correct. But then when you pair that,
he has systems in place today that gather more data about more people around the world than any other entity on the planet.
I'd say Apple and Google haven't beat.
So Pat.
Not too bad.
Those are the only two.
If he's sitting, I mean,
If you believe Apple, not.
okay. So
I don't believe Apple.
So if he has within his grasp,
That's an opinion.
If he has within his grasp this level of power through technology, why does he need to risk everything and get involved in this?
He's not risking anything.
No, but I mean,
we just talked about how Tesla's going to get light vehicles.
No, he's a megalomaniac. He also wants people to love him.
You make me laugh. He's the greatest. He's the greatest.
Oh,
Why do you say these things?
He wants people. He wants to be a god. He wants people to worship at his altar.
How do you say this about someone you don't know? How do you say?
Oh my God! You talk about please naive. Come on.
That's not about naivety.
Come on.
How do you make
your
that
definition
step?
of naivety, please, for this
good
episode?
good managers don't go to work to get love. They go to work to get a job done.
This is not, we're talking about the typical management here. We're talking about a whole other level.
Okay, I want to come back to something else you said. You said, why would he risk?
I mean,
He's not risking.
No, I want to answer your question. You said, why would he risk?
If he has
Aki.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. The simple answer to that question is he's an entrepreneur. By definition, entrepreneurs are risk takers. Do you think for a moment that he looks at the downside of what he's doing?
No, he believes in himself.
He only looks at the upside, and he's convinced in his mind that he will not fail.
Okay.
That's his mindset.
So I think entrepreneur.
And I don't know him, but I'm telling you, that's his mindset.
That I agree with.
What are you agreeing with?
Okay.
I agree
It's an opinion. You don't have any facts. You can't get inside his head. You can't get inside his heart.
He's an entrepreneur.
All right. So
I agree with that opinion.
okay. So we've come.
How convenient.
Then we're all reaching the same conclusion. So
what is the conclusion we're reaching at?
The conclusion is that he is on his way to becoming omnipotent. And I don't mean, and you're saying that he was already omnipotent through technology. I understand that. And I'm saying is when you combine, when you combine that power in the technology sphere with controlling and being, the major player in the most powerful government in the world, when you combine the two, you're omnipotent and untouchable.
Well,
and this is the ultimate end game.
Well,
You're saying
who disagrees with that?
No, it's not the end game. You said government. I'm going to correct you. He's attempting to exert similar influence on other governments.
Okay.
And he's got his sights now set on Western Europe.
I accept that.
Right? And through some of the new alliances or allies that Trump is trying to establish, we may find that he will have influence or growing influence outside of Western society.
We are seeing omnipotence taking place.
It could be omnipotent.
How about just
because
impotence?
What?
Impotence.
Because with 14 kids, we know he's not impotent. So
that's also revealing today.
That's very revealing.
Yeah, of course.
Very revealing about it.
He's the white Nick Cannon.
That's it. So the question is, we've never seen this before.
Eddie Murphy.
We've never seen this before in the States, at least as far as I know. So here we are, and the question is now, what is the counter to that? What's going to be the counterforce to that?
Time. Time is going to be the counterforce because we're going to see in 2 years with the midterm elections, we're going to see what the Department of Government Efficiency will actually get done in the next year or two. Forget the rhetoric, the hyperbole, there's 300 people on social security things. By the way, there's on social security rolls and all that stupidity that's being thrown out by him and others. Now, the other aspect of this, which is again a conspiracy theory, is are they doing this? Are they trying to weaken NATO? Are they trying to embolden Russia to become more of a threat to Europe so they can support or increase the value of the U.S. and the U.S. dollar? There's all sorts of other things that are happening. Do they want to weaken Taiwan by inshoring semiconductor manufacturing so that China can now take over Taiwan at some point because semiconductors are no longer as important? So now do we have an Asia block, a Russian block, and then a North America block?
That may be a byproduct. I don't think
there's all sorts of other stuff that could be happening.
Yeah, but again, you get lost in conspiracy theories.
Exactly.
I think the bottom line is this: any decision or action you take is going to have byproducts. So there's the ultimate outcome you're trying to achieve, but impacts will be felt elsewhere.
But maybe that's the end game, or that's one of the end games, or that's a potential, because turmoil is also going to be good for governments, especially strong-arm governments and so on. So
Would you want, considering that he's so successful even in China? I mean, he set up,
China is being clobbered in China with BYD and others.
But he set up factories in
Yes,
China.
he has for the low cost, but the local guys are killing him. They have better products.
There's a method to what the Chinese do.
Yeah, exactly. They learn.
So having him establish, manufacturing facilities in China gave Chinese companies an opportunity to observe,
to steal,
and to
steal
learn,
new technology,
and to borrow or take and apply, and they're leaving him in his wake. So
actually, he shared this technology, his battery technology.
You have no. He has an attitude of because. Again, he saw that by opening up his technology to others, it would make him more successful.
Exactly.
Smart guy.
Yeah.
So
very smart. So that you can't debate.
Yeah.
So maybe another part of his strategy is also to dominate China through Trump.
He can't dominate China.
That's
Nobody can.
No.
Nobody
it's
can.
the opposite.
No.
China's going to
I would say that's the one perhaps region of the world where I won't say he got outsmarted, but he may have been a little naive in terms of what he had an opportunity to accomplish. And what you're seeing in China today is that there are some domestic manufacturers, and BYD at the forefront, who are going to get the business.
I don't know if you saw the states won the math competition.
No.
Yeah, it was 4 Asians.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But guys, but China,
Asian Americans.
Yeah, but China also has behind the scenes some really serious issues with their debt, with their real estate. So they have really serious issues.
Who?
China.
Name me a country in the world today that doesn't have serious issues.
Yeah, of course. But
so what are you pointing out?
So what am I? Well, first of all, I mean, China was supposed to surpass or match the United States.
They will.
By now.
It wasn't by now.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
That's being pushed back.
It wasn't.
The American GDP is still,
it's still not as large as this China's GDP. Don't worry. Sorry.
Yeah, of course it is.
Growth. Sorry.
Okay.
Growth is still higher in China.
I think
they play the long game.
I think his biggest So his biggest competitor in the technology in the EV world. What his biggest competitor is who? It's BYD, isn't it?
Well,
as
BYD
a single entity.
The problem with BYD is they're not allowed to sell in many countries because of the tariffs that have been imposed because their costs.
That's going to change,
and that's going to probably change. Hopefully, it's going to change because those cars are great. I've seen them in Spain.
No, forget North America for now. Forget North America for now.
Yeah.
Is there any doubt in your mind that Western Europe is going to become much more receptive?
Absolutely.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah, but this is Trump policy. It's turning Western Europe away from Americans and bringing. Remember, there's going to be 3 blocks.
Yeah.
There's the Russia, European bloc,
Eastern Europe.
That's it. Well, that entity or that landmass, you've got the Asian landmass and you've got the Americas landmass. Yeah. So it's going to be the 3 superpowers, and that's it. They're going to carve up the rest. Okay. That's my conspiracy theory.
Ignore the rest.
So we should wrap up, guys.
Right. So I just want to say, maybe leave this last thought. Maybe he is the key to Trump. I mean Musk. being the quality person that we talked about and the genius and so forth, he's going to be the key to keeping the United States dominant and be well ahead of China in technology. Maybe that's also one of the outcomes of all this.
Yeah, so as remarkable as one human being may be in terms of IQ and vision and so on, I will always place my bet on the many as opposed to the one. So I'll take, the brilliance that exists in certain other countries or even in the United States. And if you can harness the collective capabilities of the many, they will outperform any single individual, even someone as brilliant as Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up, guys, has Tesla lost its luster? Sounds from the conversation as if there's a resounding yes as an answer to that.
Yes.
Definitely.
No, I don't think Elon Musk himself has lost as much. He's lost some, not as much as Tesla.
I just think that
His brand is very badly damaged.
his reputation has changed. The perception of who he is and what he stands for has changed as a result of his involvement in the U.S. and other governments.
So my 2 cents on this is I'm prepared to wait another 6 months, year and a half to look at the results of what we're maybe seeing as madness, or what's he doing, what's going on. Let's give it some time. I'd like to give it, like I said, 6 months, a year and a half. And let's see what the outcome is going to be, and let's see where it's all leading. Because I'm not prepared to, call him crazy. I'm not prepared to say that he's doing something evil. I'm not prepared to do any of that yet.
So the caution I'm going to throw to the wind in response to your comments is that the world cannot afford to be patient. 6 months has become an awful long time in the world. There are probably many people when Hitler was democratically elected into power who said, let's wait. Let's see what this guy's all about.
Exactly.
And there were some early warning signs, and people said, but we can't be sure. Let's give it a little more time. Time is not your friend in this instance. So I think that America and other countries would do well to put checks and balances in place to ensure that close scrutiny is paid to some of the decisions and actions that are being undertaken to ensure that it leads to good, positive outcomes as opposed to devastation.
Okay, so as I said recently on another podcast, I believe in the American people, and I believe the American people will not allow crazy ass shit to happen if push comes to shove. They will be out in the streets demonstrating against it, and I think
if they're allowed to.
They will be allowed.
Well,
to.
Demonstrations already on university campuses are being toned down.
But those are for Palestinian stuff.
Well, you're right, but they're
so
being
on.
targeted.
Yes,
but it's a sign of things to come. It's a sign of intolerance vis-a-vis viewpoints that differ from yours.
Right, but it's not about what's happening in the U.S. So let's see. I'm willing to give it. I understand where you're coming from. 100%. But I still have faith in the population to do the right thing.
I don't. I think human beings, again, I always talk about human nature.
Yeah.
I think humans by nature tend to be naive.
I have faith. I have faith in the American people.
I'm not a big believer in faith. I like to see concrete actions taken in order to ensure that we protect broad interests.
Yeah.
So I have faith that will happen.
Yeah.
On that note,
sounds good.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
That's it.
That was awesome, guys.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Sounds good.
Bye,
guys.